Okay, well, I'll just go straight in. I am free is yeah, there's something with I am free. And I don't know what that means. I'm not sure if can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Oh, great. Okay, yeah. So the I am, so I am free. So I found great power in that, in saying that, but I don't know what the I am is.
Yeah.
I'm confused about, what?
What is free?
Yeah.
But it is really beautiful to say that to yourself, because in a way, by default, the person feels trapped, because in a way the person is trapped. It's confined to the limitations of what it believes itself to be, and that has an effect on the subconscious. That has an effect on your body, mind, and on your chakras. And so, not all the time, but during the day, in and out, when there's identification, that feeling caged or feeling trapped is there somewhere in the psyche. And so when you say, I am free, there can be this beautiful relaxation, because it's the opposite to what you believe. And then in that, the dropping of a seeking momentarily or for the rest of the day. So it is like a beautiful chant to say to yourself, but it's again not true in its definitions, because there is no I am. There is this sense of being, but there is no I am as in somebody or something. The I am doesn't refer to a subject. The I am is that this endless possibility. It's not a thing and all things.
Yeah, so I can't be free in this world.
No.
As a person, no.
No, the person is by definition a label which has constraints on it. There's nothing wrong with the labeling of things. It's just knowing so deeply beyond a personal knowing. Just recognizing that your nature isn't limited.
So then it feels like the I am isn't, so the I am is a thing, so it isn't real.
Well, when you say I am, what does it do inside of you? Like, what do you feel, or what do you connect the I am to being?
I feel like I'm confused about the I am. Yeah, I am not. There's something beyond the I am, or there's no way of saying it.
Yeah. And it depends, like, on the teacher, like the way that you're taught about this I am, because like everyone teaches it really differently. Some teachers would say that consciousness is prior to the I am. There's something that's conscious of the I am. And then some teachers refer to the I am as presence, and then they would say all there is presence. So it actually depends, because non-duality isn't a thing, we can't actually name it and break it up and talk about it, but we try to. So it depends on how you refer to it. So Nisargadatta Maharaj, who was the teacher of Ramesh, and Ramesh was the teacher of Roger, and Roger and Ramesh were my teachers. They were the ones that influenced me the most, I would say, particularly Roger. That's Roger Castillo, if people don't know who I'm talking about. So Roger wouldn't teach this so much, but Ramesh would teach it more, was staying, or maybe he didn't actually, but for some reason, whether it was from Nisargadatta Maharaj, I picked up like the staying in the I am. So I actually don't think Ramesh did teach that. I think somehow I picked it up. I think Ramesh used to teach it in his older videos, but I didn't ever see them, or his older talks. So Nisargadatta Maharaj would do teaching of staying in the I am. Like his teacher said to him something along the lines of, dwell in that I am and you'll know who you are. And from my interpretation of the I am, as I didn't see it as something that was separate, I saw it as this sense of existence. And that sense of existence, there isn't actually something that's conscious of it. The sense of existence and consciousness are two sides of the same coin, and they're actually both empty. And the sense of existence is the everything part, it's like the love part, and the consciousness is like the emptiness part, the wisdom part. So Nisargadatta Maharaj says in a really famous quote, to know I am love, to know I am everything is love, to know I'm nothing is wisdom, and in between my life resides. And that means like the personal human ego resides in between, like it's looked through this personal ego, and that's where it resides, in the apparent flow of life. And so to me, I don't see the I am as something that's after the consciousness, but I also see the relevance of that teaching, because what they mean is this feeling of an I am, and then the teachers are trying to point that there's something conscious of that. But then eventually that I am gets released from the body, that feeling of I am, and it, like consciousness, goes back into everything, like consciousness. But when you're exploring this subject, it's like you can see the I am, it's like you can see the sense of existence from there's something conscious that's prior to that. But that sense of existence actually belongs everywhere too. And you can't actually see it, it's the other side to consciousness. You can only see it because of the fractured mind, and it's a teaching which is trying to teach to break down that mind. I know most probably doesn't make sense, but that sense of I am is actually happening everywhere and is everything. It's not I am Rob, or I am Lisa, or I am something. That I am is all things. And that I am is totally empty and not a thing. And you don't need to find it. You'll never find it in a way. When you find it, it's from a mind that's divided. So when you say you don't really know what the I am is, or it confuses you, it always will be that way, because you'll never be able to get it. Just like you'll never be able to get consciousness. Like it's all appearing in that. But it doesn't mean that the search doesn't carry on for it. But that can happen, and that's okay. That's part of the apparent process. But the I am is love. It's this alive sense of being. that this is. And it's so mysterious you can't really categorize it into all these words.
Yeah, everything is everything is love, and yeah, thanks for that.
It's a pleasure.
Everything, yeah, everything is love. Everything is love. So, and that is when I make a phone call to someone, if the body, mind is aware everything is love, then that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And even if you're experiencing fear in the body mind, that's like no different from the sound of the birds that are happening in the background. So if you're calling someone and you're experiencing fear, it's no different from the birds in the background. It's simply a biological reaction happening. It's specific to that body. And all of that is wrapped in love. All we're normally looking for is we're looking for love to replace that fear. But when you really see that love is in the space, it's in the objects, it's in everything, and the consciousness is in everything, then it becomes less important, the sensations and the experiences in the body.
yeah, that is so helpful. I'm in the middle of something right now I'm so angry and I've been able to let it.
Yeah.
I've listened to you, and instead of trying to resist it, or
Yeah.
it's difficult because I have a young child, and looking after her while I'm going through that process is like but that somehow it sort of broke.
Yeah.
I went, yeah, I can't stop it. So that I'm with my child, I have to somehow let it. So that's been an amazing, that I know you say it all the time, that allowing it, and I don't know what to do about how to verbalize to this other person, a person about the fear and anger I have through just action, because I know it's love, so it's I want to say I'm done with you, like I want to say I'm done with you, but I know that's
it's part of being human, having anger. One thing I will advise on the human level, if you do it, it's totally God's will, it's not down to you.
Yeah.
But it just on the human level is I wouldn't try to verbalize it or express it until the weight of the emotion has passed.
Yeah.
Because what will happen, what could possibly happen is like a losing control, and then like communicating in an unskillful way, and then making things more difficult for yourself.
Yeah, that's what I've done. I just went, wow, I'm not going to do, I'm just going to let it, and I'm just going to continue to be with it until the weight of it is gone.
Yeah. But this is seeing that. So right now you have this anger, so maybe like it feels like very shaken up in the vessel, but then all around you is also yourself. So there's this massive space all around you, and that's who you truly are, and that's supporting every ounce of what's happening. When we have intense anger, what happens is it creates deep seeking. So then the deep seeking makes us contract and really focus on the anger, and then we're desperately trying to escape from it. So it's just seeing it, that it's this anger, seeing it's a seeking arising to try and avoid it, and just letting it be there.
Yeah, I was in the swimming pool actually, a public swimming pool. And I was, my daughter was going down the slide, and everyone's kids around and that, and I just went, and it just in that moment, I just really what you just said, and it was, I just was able to, do what you said. So, and of course, but when I first woke up this morning, it sort of came in again, and then so perfect to listen to your talk and stuff.
Another thing that might be helpful is something like Osho chakra meditation. It might help the body like relax and let it move easier, but also like not as a seeking mechanism, like us desperately trying to get away from it. Like just if that arises, like it's like the key to it is allowing it to be there.
Yeah, I've got that planned for today. I've turned off my phone, and I haven't got any children this week, so that was, that's amazing. Can I say one more thing about something else?
Sure. Just my mum might call. I said I'd pick her up at 8, and I'm waiting for a phone call. So if she calls, I might have to go.
Yeah, sure. Just chop me off.
It's now like 3 minutes past 8, but there's still no like call or anything from her. Or text.
So I'd like to talk about sex, because I don't know if many people have talked about sex on it publicly with your talks and stuff. So, and you,
I can't remember.
Yeah,
I think we most
good.
probably have. I think we most probably has talked about. If it's not with someone, I've most probably talked about it. Like just today, I had a little bit of a chat about sex and then pulled myself back.
Yeah. Well, that was, and just I'm a So whatever, I'm a man, whatever that means, and I know you're super well. You're very aware and very open about attraction and that. Just to say that as a man, I'm amazed at your ability that I don't have an attraction for you as a sexual attraction for you and how you've because if I saw you walking down the street, I probably would, because it just came up to me when you said like how men seem to have more sex in their lives, and and it's like a I feel like it's like a barrier for me to connect with people, because I act differently if I'm attracted to a woman, if I find a woman attractive, and it seems to be sort of developing over the last couple of years, and I don't know if you have so I want to just meet people as people, as people, but it's like a barrier.
I can imagine. Like, so I really don't understand what it's like to be a man, and I think that like I learned this information predominantly from my partner, because we talk about these things. But I think women really don't understand men, in the sense that they really don't understand the sexual side. So I'd say like 90% of women really don't think about sex that much. And I think for men, because men are very visual in the way that men have evolved, I don't know what it is, and it also might be pornography in the way our society is set up. I think for men, so much more about interaction has sexuality in it. And then I think that what we do as a society, which is really weird, is we shame men for that. like men aren't allowed to express it in any way, and it's, I think, maybe a way in which we control men, and we kind of shame them as if they're bad for having sexual urges. Like, I don't want to embarrass my partner, but he maybe I will say that it's not my partner's. I can't get out of that now. But
Yeah.
he says, like, for men, it's like like a woman can just suddenly do something, do an image or bend over or like look at you in a certain way, and then sexuality, like just a flash of sexuality comes up, and it's not necessarily that you want to have sex, it's just that it's a lot more present in the male form. Like, sexuality is a lot more there in the brain, whereas for women it really doesn't arise. And I think women really don't understand that that's happening for men, and it's not something to demonize a man or think that it's bad, but often women do, because what they want is a man that's faithful and doesn't think about other women or anything, and it's not realistic. And so men become shamed for having this. So I can imagine that it does have a big impact, that when there's sexual energy that comes up, it creates a big distance for men and creates like a difficulty in to express himself, because you can't just stand there and say, I suddenly feel sexual attraction, because which would be like an honest thing to say, and which is completely understandable, because they would completely be shut down by the woman. Like, how dare you, this is wrong. Like, I can imagine a lot of women reacting like that. So I think that that may be a very male thing that arises, is sexuality arises, or attraction arises, and then shame and insecurity arises. And then I'm sure it hits on lots of other different subjects, with your mother's relationship, with the relationship with your siblings, and your past experiences.
Yeah, that's, I think, yeah, you're, whoever that person was you're talking about, that man is, yeah, is, that's, yeah, and it's, I've, met a group where that's, everyone's breaking down that, so that sexuality is, it's positive, conscious sexuality. But there's hardly any place for it. It's so small. It's so small. And so, let's say I've met some, I've met, and I want to have, it's sort of like, it's not in my truth, it's not in my truth to say, I don't know. So I've been in a place where I can say my truth. I say, I don't find you sexually attractive, or I'm sexually attracted to you, and there's no, it's like there's authenticness there. There's no attachment. It isn't amazing. And the energy, I felt energy in my body during what I'd never been allowed to express before, but I sort of feel like this cage, like, I've chosen, well, I don't, whatever, I won't say I've chosen, but I've stayed, I haven't had sex with a woman for like 2 years, and I can sort of hardly ever, which is possibly a long time for a man. I don't know. Well, I don't know. It's all comparable, isn't it? But it seems like a very long. It sounds like a very long time.
Maybe some men are out there listening and be like, "That's nothing."
Yeah, flesh wounds, that has been, and I'm sure, and I've spoken to some women about it, and they say, "Oh, yeah, that's nothing." I remember I used to say, "Well, I haven't had sex for 6 months with someone," and they go, "Whoa, geez, it's been like, 5 years." But yeah, and I don't know why. It's just, I guess it just sort of almost limits me off the planet to. Don't want to be false, Don't want to just say.
And that,
actually,
I think that's really like a reflection of someone that's quite empathetic and sensitive, and there's nothing wrong with that. It is that there isn't a place for that in society. Like, I wouldn't be able to date just someone that I was attracted to in society. They'd have to have a depth about them, because I
Yeah, that's
have to be
right.
able to express my heart, and my heart's not always sweet or kind. It can also be ugly and mean, and I have to have someone that can hold that, that can,
Yeah.
and that also can see sexuality in a really open way. That if I were to be attracted to something odd or some bizarre sexual behaviors, which I'm sure I do have and have had in the past, that it can be held and it can be not shamed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that every part of me can be held, like every part of Lisa, because that's part of the work in which we do in this subject. It's so important, seeing that you're not the body, and in seeing that you're not the body and you're not the person, then it allows the person to be truly who it is. When you believe you are the body, then you're always trying to be a good person,
Yeah.
and you're really ashamed of your shadow side. And I believe that everybody has a shadow side. It's part of being alive. We have these bizarre thoughts or bizarre actions or sexual interests or whatever it is, and I believe that a healthy society is one that embraces that. An unhealthy one is one that represses it, and that's when we get really odd behaviors, when we repress it, and then it kind of like seeps out of the seams of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I can, you were talking about your mother and stuff. I talked to my mother on a very, she's 80 something, and she sees this. She sees
Yeah,
this repression of men's sexuality and sees them being credited as criminal, treated as criminals. Well, you have to, if
yeah,
someone's, a pedophile or,
yeah,
but she says it's just like this, so
yeah.
she's the,
This is from my research, and I might, like, I'm not an expert, I might be ignorant, or there might be other stuff that's like more reliable. But from what I understand, like the the biggest, not cure, because it's not like you can cure paedophilia. If it's like an if you have attraction to children, you have attraction to children, and that's the way it it is, and it mostly won't change. But the way in which it's most successfully not acted out is when the paedophile can openly admit and be honest
yeah,
with it. And I think they even call it different names. Like, I don't think you're a paedophile if you don't act it out. I can't remember the different names for it. But if you are with people that it's the same, that can hear that and allow that, like like allow that, like hear that you're attracted to children, not like in detail and like being
no,
grotesque about it. I mean, like they
yeah,
can just admit it, like an alcoholic can, and it's not shamed. Then that is the biggest recovery rate they see of not offending again, is when that person is has a community and can be honest about it. Because it's completely, if you're born with paedophilic tendencies, doesn't that's just the way it is. And even if you
yeah,
develop paedophilic tendencies because of your environment or because you were molested as a child, there's nothing wrong with that at all. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's just that if it's acted out, it hurts other people, and then
yeah,
that's when there's something wrong with it.
yeah. Well, that would give them the freedom, wouldn't it, to say it, and then also to sort of experience the negatives it would have on
Yeah,
that child,
yeah,
and then they would, then there's freedom to, there's freedom to make that choice, isn't there?
yeah,
That they,
yeah,
and it also manifests itself in that, around, there's been a couple of cases around where my hometown, where my mum still lives.
yeah,
So um, she says, Rob, you've got to be very careful, because I have three girls and a boy,
yeah,
and one of them's 6.5, and then that's, and she says, Rob, you've got to, and I say to her, Mum, look, my little one sleeps with me in the bed, a lot of the time if she wants to, and yeah, and I'm helping my older daughter with giving her like a massage and stuff. And I said, Mum, I can't live my life, and she's
yeah,
really worried, yeah,
yeah,
and fear. So I guess I'm pretty angry about that. That
yeah,
societies more are trying to teach children that their fathers,
yeah.
can't love them.
Yeah, that is really sad.
Yeah, it's really. Anyway, I don't know how I got onto that.
Yeah.
But I've taken up enough time. But yeah, thank you for all your talks.
Yeah, that's okay. But I think it's really beautiful that you brought up this subject, because it's really funny, because I've got to be honest that me and my partner were speaking about this subject not last night, the night before, the last time I spoke to him, and then it's funny that you
Yeah.
phoned up and then you brought up this subject. It's just like another proof that we're all so deeply connected.
Yeah.
Like it's one mind speaking out, and I think it's really beautiful, especially for men. And I can't claim to be an expert in any way for what it is for men, but the more that, when you're in partnership with someone, and the way I work with men, the more I understand it. And I do think that men in our current society are being deeply shamed for their sexuality. They're deeply shamed, and I think that leads to addiction to pornography. It leads to like the secretive behavior, to like to all these problems for men. And and I think there's so many beautiful things in the expression of being male and their sexuality and like the way that it appears. And I think that we shame men out of that.
Yeah.
I think it's always about embracing.
Yeah. I felt that because when I grew up at university, it was like the women's liberation was really strong.
Yeah.
And I was a white middle class rugby player when a racist tour of New Zealand was going on with the South African rugby team. They excluded blacks from their team.
Oh, yeah.
So I was like everything that was wrong with the world,
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm fine. I'm just sort of doing it conversationally. I don't find, I don't feel that way. But yeah, and I always said, yeah, men, yeah, what is it? What is it that society values about men? And I guess I used to use the unknown because I got into, I did boxing and was a physical sort of only for a certain reason I did boxing. But anyway, and I looked at it. The men were sort of like frozen into inactivity and not valued apart from their intellect or something like that. And then I said, well, as I used to say this to my wife at the time, was that if someone breaks into the, or I don't know how it came out, someone breaks into the house, our house, and it's going to kill you and the kids. I mean, she got it. Who's supposed to die first?
Yeah.
And society doesn't put a value on that.
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion, there's not one.
Yeah.
There's not one thing. The man is supposed to go out there and protect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that my partner was saying that he was watching or listening to a podcast saying that I've forgotten it now. Actually, it was really amazing that we only started demonizing men in society something like 200 years ago. And I can't remember why he said it happened. It's something to do with the movement or the shift in church.
Yeah, there's something about
before it had been like the bad was like other world or like demons or possession or something, and then it stopped. I can't remember what he was telling me, but it was really amazing. And then it stopped being that, and then it started being the man was the problem in society.
Well, the subjugation of women, is one of the truly grotesque, expressions of human, of human nature. As a man, you can't avoid the incredible that still goes on. Still to this day, the incredible cruelty and the killing of the witches and I mean that's just tiny, isn't it? But it's beyond belief what the male is the most valuable Yeah, so I guess it comes out of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's always in the background, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Nice.
Well,
I better go and
yeah,
phone my mum
nice.
now.
Yeah, I'm going to go and do some chakra breathing,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to communicate until
Yeah.
I'm completely at peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, so thank you so
Pleasure.
much,
Thank you so
and
much for being open
thank
and
you for
honest.
all the other people. I've learned so much from some of the people who've called you up,
Oh, nice.
especially when they've said sort of really difficult things, or they're dealing with difficult things. So
Yeah.
anyone who's out there listening, yeah,
Nice.
thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thanks,
Okay,
Rob.
all right,
Bye.
bye.
Oh, that was super beautiful. It's so funny the way it works that I was speaking about that with my partner 2 nights ago, and then we've had it come up in the session today. Like, amazing the way it works. Like, we think that things work in cause and effect, but they don't. They work in magic. It's not logic, it's magic.